Alright, we are live, ladies and germs. What you doing, Giant? What you doing, butthead? I don't know if you can hear that, but it is pouring like a motherfucker right now. So, check and see. Yeah, it's still raining a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and get this shindig started and get this race review done and over with. So, let's get into it. This is the fuel. Cat, quit. Butthead. This video is sponsored by Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Click on the link in the description and use the code PackerMan to save 10% on any order. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and I think I forgot to change the background music. Yes, I did, because I'm an idiot. There we go. But anyways, welcome to this edition of The Fuel, where today we're going to be talking about the 2023 Ally 400 from the Nashville Super Speedway. I'm just going to keep this kind of brief because I'm tired. Just been hard at work as per usual. So, I've just been so tired. That's why I'm hoping I get next week off from work. Not only because I get to sleep in, but also because I need to work on my house a little bit. But anyways, we want to talk about a race that injected some much needed momentum into NASCAR, and that was the Cup race last night at Nashville. Like, NASCAR's momentum after Sonoma could not have been colder. It couldn't have been. So it was honestly a blessing that we had that week off to kind of reset and get everything back in order. It was also the first race with NBC on NASCAR on NBC, first one of the year, and they came out guns a-blazing. I mean, the broadcast definitely felt more lively, more professional, and a lot more enjoyable. Cat, would you please watch out? These freaking cats, man. But needless to say, the Nashville Super Speedway, it's been an interesting first 3 years at that track, because when they decided they were going to take one of the Dover dates and transfer it to the Nashville Super Speedway, I was a little bit leery, to say the least, because the Nashville Super Speedway had been sitting dormant for a decade. Hadn't been used whatsoever by any racing series. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the ownership group for Dover at the time, before they sold everything to SMI, they owned both Dover Motor Speedway and Nashville Super Speedway. So they decided, because of Nashville Fairgrounds being kind of on the docket, to perhaps get a Cup race in the future. Of course, they got to try to get the track renovated and all that other stuff, get it up to safety specs and all that good shit. So they decided to kind of test the waters in Nashville, see how people would take to stock car racing in the Nashville area. And needless to say, it's been a massive success for NASCAR, because the first 3 races at Nashville Super Speedway have all sold out. They sold every last ticket. that they can. That includes infield camping and all that other shit. So needless to say, from a financial aspect, I would say that going to the Nashville Superspeedway was a huge success for NASCAR. Now, in terms of the on-track product, the first race was not that good. It really wasn't. And now, of course, that was the one where Kyle Larson just completely dominated, led a shit ton of laps, and won the race. So I was a little bit leery about how, Nashville Superspeedway would fare in the coming years. Well, fast forward to 2022, it was going to be held in the daytime again, but we had rain delays, if y'all remember. So the race was held at night, and I think it actually improved the racing product because last year's race was actually much better than 2021. And then we get to 2023, where they actually decide to start the race at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that kind of raised some eyebrows, and it's like, well, why would they do that? Well, for one thing, they didn't want to start it in the heat of the day because they didn't want, their paying customers to fry in the heat of the sun. But also, more importantly, they kind of recognized that it seemed like this track produced better racing at night. So they decided to do kind of a pseudo night race where it started in the early evening hours and then transitioned into nighttime. And let me tell you something. It paid off big time because the racing that we saw last night was some of the best of the entire season. Now, in terms of lead change count, this race is not going to compete with Kansas whatsoever, because Kansas, I think, had like 30 some odd lead changes, something crazy like that. Whereas the race last night only had 21 lead changes, which is still a pretty solid number. Just nowhere close to what Kansas had. However, what Nashville had last night over the Kansas race was the low number of caution flags. Now, that came kind of back to back and from some pretty silly incidents. The first one was when Reddick, who had just pitted under green, there was a set of green flag pit stops. He pitted and he had a loose wheel. Of course, I think that's the same crew that was on Bubba Wallace's team before they decided to switch crews. And now it seems like the 45 is getting all the bad luck. So Tyler Reddick has a loose wheel, tries to come to pit road, spins out, and actually ends up losing the wheel, which led to some interesting discussion about the letter of the law, because he lost a wheel. However, because he technically lost it on pit road, you would only get a tail end of the longest line penalty. Now, if he would have lost it like 500 feet before, it would be a 2-lap penalty, and some members of his crew would be taking a couple-week vacation. So there was a lot of talk about how the verbiage of that rule might be reworded a little bit for next week's race. The other caution, however, seemed to get a lot of attention because it happened because of I think Keselowski missing a gear and wasn't able to get going, and that caused a huge stack up. And Ryan Blaney gets spun out, tries to get back under control, but hits one of the inside walls at the exit of pit road hard, and it was a wall that didn't have a safer barrier. Which, I mean, I don't know why a wall right there would not have a safer barrier, but Ryan Blaney basically said it was the hardest hit of his entire career, and he even said that he would pay money to have a safer barrier there for next time. So, yeah, not exactly a good thing. But other than those two incidents, that was it for caution flags. Stage 1 was clean, and unbelievably, Stage 3 was clean. And there was some good racing throughout this entire race. You had Chastain starting from the pole. His first career pole, but I might add. And also Trackhouse's first pole, which was a big deal because Trackhouse considers Nashville to be its hometown. So there you go on that one. Green flag pit stops were on lap 43. Tyler Reddick managed to get the lead from Chastain on lap 61. Chastain tries to come back on him. Then you had Byron and Truex closing on the top two at the end of the stage. And the top four were actually within a second of each other. I mean, nobody could really get away from anybody in this race, which is just crazy. Tyler Reddick won stage one. There were some pit stops. But then came what is without doubt the best laps of the season. The beginning of stage two. Byron led the start of stage two, but then you had Chastain going on his outside, trying to get the lead. And then you had Truex underneath the Byron, and they were 3 wide for the race lead for like 4 laps. Like, I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. Now, they eventually sorted it out with Truex in the lead. But my God, that was probably 4 of the best laps of this entire season. I mean, 3 wide racing for the lead. I mean, you normally see it at the drafting tracks of Daytona and Talladega. But on a mile and a third concrete intermediate track, don't really see it all that much. But it was awesome. Easily the best part of the entire race. That's not to say that the rest of the race wasn't bad. Or was bad, because it wasn't. Because there was some damn good racing. And after, you know, all the hubbubaloo of the caution flags, which came back to back, it was pretty much clean and green for the rest of the race. Aside from the stage 2 stage break. Hamlin challenges for Truex for the lead on the restart. They were side by side for a while. And they actually traded the lead back and forth 3 times between the two of them before Hamlin finally pulls ahead and gets the lead all to himself. Although Truex was not that far behind. Chastain, he was back in the pack a little bit. His car was starting to come to him because it was starting to get later in the day. And it seemed like his car reacted better to the nighttime weather as opposed to the daytime. So he was coming up towards the front. And he was actually closing in on Hamlin and Truex by the end of the stage. By the end of stage 2. Hamlin ended up winning stage 2, barely holding off Truex. There were pit stops. And then we get to stage 3, which went clean and green the whole way. Yep, we had a 108 lap run to end this race under green. Talk about a breath of fresh air. Like, holy shit. Let me tell you something. NBC's broadcasting, I mean, is leagues better than Fox. I mean, you know a race is good when they start breaking out the triple threat box, showing 3 different battles all over the place. Yeah. The enthusiasm in the booth was a lot higher. Of course, when you have someone like Dale Earnhardt Jr., who brings that energy to the broadcast booth. Can you believe it's his 6th year? This is his 6th season at NASCAR and NBC. Where has the time gone? But anyways, Hamlin leads the start of stage 3. Chastain and Truex were side by side for second for a while. Harvick gets by Byron for 5th and then by Bell for 4th. So Harvick looked really good late in this race. Of course, they finally announced who was going to be his replacement in the 4 car for next year. Of course, I think it was the worst kept secret in the garage. Josh Berry was called upon to drive the 4 car next year. Let me tell you something. Stewart-Haas Racing, they need to do something because, I mean, Harvick, I mean, he's basically been the only good thing so far this year. Because just to give you an idea of how bad, say, the 14 season has been, after the checkered flag, he was just getting ready to go to pit road. And Daniel Suarez in the 99, I think he was trying to go back up on the track because he wanted to celebrate with his teammate and accidentally pulled out in front of Chase Briscoe and spun himself out. So that just summarizes Chase Briscoe's day in Stewart-Haas Racing's season. You know. So honestly, I think there needs to be a total cleaning, a house cleaning at Stewart-Haas, because what they're doing right now just isn't working. Ryan Preece hasn't panned out like they hoped. I mean, nothing seems to be working other than Harvick putting in good runs, which unfortunately for him came to an end when he has a flat right rear tire. Evidently doing all that carrying of the rest of the team finally caused his right rear tire to go flat. But anyways, Truex continued to challenge Hamlin for the race lead. There was a good battle between Suarez, Gibbs, and Jones in the bottom half of the top 10. Elliott was up to the top 5. And then Chastain, his car was really good on the long run, so he ended up getting by Truex pretty easily, and then ran down Hamlin for the race lead and made the pass on the outside clean as a whistle. You know, that had to be sweet to get by his arch rival in such a clean manner. And that was our 6th pure lead change of the day. Harvick began closing in on the top 3 at this point, and then of course he had the flat tire. Green flag pit stops began with 60 laps to go. Truex was the first of the leaders to come in, and then Chastain and Hamlin were right behind him. Can't really give him too much time on those fresh tires, even though the advantage wasn't as much as we'd seen in prior races this season. It was still an advantage, and as hard as it was to pass in this race, the last thing you want is to give up track position. Let me tell you something. Chastain's crew, dynamite. Got him out way in front of Truex and Hamlin. Hamlin's crew kind of dropped the ball a little bit, and Truex was actually able to get by him. So that kind of left Truex free and clear to try to chase down Chastain for the race lead, which he eventually cycled back with the lead, but was in heavy back marker traffic, and Truex was right on his heels waiting for a mistake. The big moment of the race came when Truex was coming up on the back markers of Eric Almirola and JJ Yeley. They were side by side going down the backstretch. And then you have Alex Bowman, who stayed out way late, finally pitted with 32 laps to go and was on fresh tires and was closing from behind. So it looked like Chastain was going to be boxed in by all of these lap cars, and I'm pretty sure when Truex was seeing this, he was licking his chops thinking he was going to get a shot at Chastain to try to win this race. But Chastain said, "Fuck that noise," and threaded the needle between Eric Almirola and JJ Yeley. And he was able to get through all those cars, and that left Truex basically having to spend a couple of laps to get around them lap cars. I mean, that move basically won Chastain the race. Yeah, Truex was able to close back in near the end of the race, but it wasn't anywhere near enough, and Chastain would hold Truex at bay to get a much needed victory at Nashville. His 3rd career win, his first in over a year, and it was a very emotional win because, you know, he has heard the criticisms from a lot of people, myself included, and, you know, his performances have definitely been a little bit lacking in the past month or so. But talk about a way to return to form at your team's home track, essentially. And, you know, he gets himself a Gibson Les Paul guitar to put on the trophy shelf. So congrats to Ross Chastain for getting that 3rd career win, and it was a much needed win, a big win for him. Statistics: there were 21 overall lead changes, 6 pure lead changes, only 2 caution flags, 3,367 green flag passes, and your lap leader was Ross Chastain, who led 99 of the race's 300 laps. There wasn't really a lot of domination per se in this race. You had leaders lead some laps, but it wasn't like total domination by one driver. This was a very competitive race, truth be told, and it was a fun race to watch, but it was a breath of fresh air compared to some of the dreck that we've seen so far this season. So a good start to the second half of this season. And honestly, some great momentum for NASCAR as they're heading into the Chicago street race next week, which obviously is a big deal because it's going to be the first time ever that the Cup Series has run on a street course, believe it or not. They've run on an airport course before. That was at the Linden Airport in 1954, I believe. And it's the one and only time that a NASCAR a top-tier race was won by a Jaguar. Believe it or not. But as for my final rating for the 2023 Ally 400, this was a phenomenal race. This race went by fast. I mean, it really did. And it felt like it went by fast, which, I mean, when you're enjoying a race, that has a tendency to happen. Unlike some of the previous races where it felt like it lasted way longer than it should have. You know? But this race went by fast. It basically was right at 3 hours. Started at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and then finished at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's like, damn. Got everything done in inside of 3 hours. And for a 400-mile race that a mile and a third track, that's pretty damn good. And the battles for the lead was awesome. The win was in doubt pretty much right up to the checkered flag. And that 3-wide racing at the beginning of stage 2, chef's kiss. So I'm gonna stop short of saying this was the best race of the year because the Kansas race earlier this year certainly has its share in it, or has a say in it in that regard. But I am going to give this race the same rating that I gave the Kansas race, and that is an 8 out of 10. So I thought this was a great race. I think Nashville Superspeedway, now in its third year, has more than earned its spot on the Cup Series schedule. It's sold out every single year. The racing has gotten better every year. The first year, the racing was not that good. Year 2, it improved. And year 3 has been the best of the bunch. So, in my opinion, I think Nashville Superspeedway has earned its spot on the Cup schedule, at least for now. There's one more year left on its original contract. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But, I mean, they're trying to get the Nashville Fairgrounds onto the Cup schedule, at the very least. But honestly, you could probably have room for both tracks. Just keep them at opposite ends of the schedule, and I think you'll be alright in that regard. But that's going to do it for this edition of The Fuel. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. See you later. What's happening, ladies and germs? What's happening, ladies and germs? Thank you for watching tonight's video. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description box below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you want to continue watching great content like you saw today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out.